got some glasses in front of us. We got some wine. It's WineDown Wednesday. I'm Sam.
I'm Heather.
And we are whiskey and wine, trying to make the world of whiskey and wine more approachable for more people. If you're new here, what we do on Wednesdays is we open a bottle of wine, we talk about it, and then we also talk about a rather fun subject, something that you can kind of get into, something that you can discuss with your friends, coworkers, family, whatever it may be, but it's something to kind of spark some conversation. And today, we're going to be kind of piggybacking on what we talked about last week, or I should say 2 weeks ago, when we talked about what to do with uncomfortable situations and kind of being in those situations, or I should say, we talked about kind of doing those uncomfortable things. But now we're going to talk about what do you do when you find yourself in those new situations that are kind of uncomfortable and they're new. How do you conduct yourself and why? So we're going to get into that.
So why? As
soon as we pour this bottle of wine. So you see we have 2 bottles of wine. These are both going to be tawny ports coming out of a winery, I almost said distillery, a winery down in Texas. It is one of the oldest wineries in the region. I believe it was 1883. I was going to say 1886. Founded in 1883. And they have different blends that they do for their tawny port. So we have blend 18 and blend 19. We are going to be drinking blend 18. And I'll put up all of the nerdy information that I can find about that here. But we're going to be drinking that, talking about that as we discuss what do you do when you find yourself in a new and uncomfortable situation and why.
Valverde Winery was founded by Frank in 1883. He brought from Italy the family tradition of winemaking. When he arrived in Del Rio, he founded the Lenore grapes, flourishing under the warm Southwest Texas sun, where he founded his family winery. Today, the winery is operated by his grandson, a third-generation Texas winemaker with the knowledge and expertise that's been handed down for generations. I honestly wouldn't think of Texas as a place to have wine.
So Texas wine recently has been absolutely popping off. They've been doing a lot of these really nice warm weather grapes, so a lot of these like Tempranillos and styles like that. But historically, that is where a lot of wine came from. So getting wine out of Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada is not that uncommon. It was a lot of missionary grapes is what it was considered at that point. So missionary grapes were basically, they planted the grapes because they needed to get wine to do communion.
Ah, love that.
A lot of it always loops back to churches, let's be real. So that's why a lot of wineries ended up starting in those areas. Some stuck, some didn't. Obviously, if you look in those areas, Texas has some really good spots, but then the majority of it doesn't really work. So it makes sense why some worked and some didn't. So diving into the question of what do you do when you find yourself in a new and unfamiliar situation, and why do you do those things? This is kind of a fun question because Heather loves to throw herself into new and unfamiliar situations. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I actively avoid them. However, I have one coming up this weekend, which you guys this will be last weekend for you, I believe. Yes, this will be last weekend for you. I'm going to be going to Kentucky Bourbon Fest, and this is going to be a first time being there. And again, as someone who does whiskey and wine influencing, going to a bourbon festival sounds like it should just be simple and fun. You go check out distilleries, talk with people, but I have no idea what to really expect. Watching all these videos, talking with people, I don't really know what to expect. So I am super concerned about this, but that's why we're going to be talking about this, piggybacking on 2 weeks ago, our conversation of doing new things. So have you found yourself in any positions like that, or do you need time to consider?
I mean, I feel like oftentimes in my job, I always say the stupidity of mankind makes it so that there's never a day that's boring in my life. All the times I get questions of being like, so-and-so took this random drug or combined these things and they're having these, or like, is this a possibility of a side effect? So I feel like there's all the times, or there's very often times where I may never been asked that specific question before, but it's using resources and sometimes extrapolating of like, oh, like that's in the same drug class as this, so it's possible that, you know, there could be this effect. However, the most common reported things would be this. So if like the common stuff isn't happening, it's probably not the super rare thing. Like doing a little research.
Okay.
Although recently I've found it quite entertaining how just like common life situations, one of my friends just like is asked her girl, ChatGPT,
Oh gosh.
what to do. And you know, that's also another way to
tangent.
sell.
As a computer science developer, software developer, people are so bad at using ChatGPT. It is such a wonderful, powerful tool. But oh my word, people are so bad at using it. If you give it the right prompt, the right information, and you give it, okay, here's your info, here's your prompt, here are my criteria, and then you give it that, it will give you usually what you're expecting. But people are so bad at using it correctly. It is so often we will get messages at work of someone like, oh, this isn't working, I tried this, I'm confused, can you help? It's like you just didn't give it the right prompt. Try again. Such a good tool, but yeah, people really, really need to learn how to use it. Getting off of that soapbox, is there a reason you learned to respond in the way that you do?
I have the desire to know the answer, but then sometimes you come to the finding of like, maybe this is something we don't know the answer, and like, maybe that's okay. Or maybe this is an area where like further research could be done.
Okay.
And again, it's just that thing, like I'm never going to know everything. And I think realizing that you're human interacting with other humans can like do a lot. You know, there's a lot of the times, you know, from going to a new place or going to a new restaurant, you know, like ordering from the menu, or sometimes it was something as simple as that could almost be overwhelming or scary. But like, that's where you just ask the waiter, like, hey, what's your favorite thing? And then it's like, bam, you tried it.
For me, when it comes to being in those new experiences, typically I'm always going to try to look to other people who are around me and try to figure out, okay, how are they conducting themselves? But again, I'm going to Kentucky Bourbon Fest this week, and there's going to be a plethora amount of people there. There's going to be people who are like whiskey noobs. There's going to be nerds there. There's going to be influencers. There's going to be distillers. Everyone is going to be conducting themselves differently. So I can't pick someone and be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna look to see what you do, because it's just not going to work. So in this case, and I was thinking about this like all day today, yesterday, basically I'm just going to try to be like my authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm going to a new situation and I have no preconceived notions of how to navigate the situation. So let's say I go to a fencing tournament. I don't
know anything about fencing.
Nothing about fencing.
That's a
Well,
really good
I shouldn't say I know
example.
anything about fencing. I don't know much about fencing.
I
But
really don't know anything about fencing.
when it comes to trying to conduct myself, like or actually, backtrack, going to a horse racing event, which we did.
Oh, yeah, we did go to the Derby.
I had no idea of how things were supposed to work. I didn't know how you're supposed to dress, all of these things. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do me. I'm going to try to be as authentic me as I can. And as I find different directions to go, then I will follow suit to make sure I'm still like following these cultural norms. So that made it much easier because I wasn't worried about trying to fit in. I was just worried about, okay, I'm going to just hang out, do me. And then if I find out I'm supposed to be doing X, Y, or Z, then I'll do X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of how I'm approaching KBF this weekend, but it's going to be very, very interesting. And the reason I do that, I feel, is because, one, when you are going to a new situation, you want to try to mildly behave yourself because you don't want to make other people super uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But you also don't want to be like stressing yourself out to the point of freezing.
Yeah, or not having fun.
Yeah.
Or enjoying it.
You still want to enjoy yourself. You want to be able to be you. So you be you until you can figure out, okay, this is the avenue I'm supposed to go down. Let me do this. And there's some cases where it's like, okay, I'm already doing what I need to do. There's nothing I need to change. We're good to go. But there's other situations where it's like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, or I need to not be drinking this as quickly, or I shouldn't be eating this, or there's a certain behavior I shouldn't be doing because it's just not proper in this occasion. So there are some things sometimes culturally and societally that you need to change, but not always. So that's kind of what's going through my head most of the time when I go into a new situation that I'm completely unfamiliar with. Speaking of unfamiliar, I think this is our fourth, maybe fifth time trying a true port. We have a port style that we really, really enjoy. But as a true port, I think this is the probably fourth or fifth style, like true port that we've tried. So let me give you guys a nice little close up so you can kind of get that nice ruby color out of this guy. She is gorgeous.
There's almost like a hue of like a brown, like an earthiness.
Yep. Very earthy colored. So that is something you get as you start to age wine a little bit more. You will get with red wines, they will go from this bright red and they will slowly start to turn brown as they get older, older, and older. And with whites, same thing. You'll start with that white, that kind of lemon color, and you're going to slowly start to turn into more of this darker yellow, more of a brown color.
I think on the nose, there's kind of that high acidity seeming. Or
I feel like I don't get the acidity on the nose.
I don't know if that's acidity, but how do you describe that like sharpness?
So to me, on the nose, I get really, this is such a particular thing again, and I know you hate when I do something particular like this, but when I did a cultural exchange trip over to the Middle East, we were in the UAE, and we got these chocolate-covered dates.
Okay.
And that is exactly what this smells like. When you open the little package, the smell of the date, all of that juiciness, and then that pseudo milk chocolate smell just rushes into your nose. That's what I get on this.
I can see the dates. Like the dates are there, the chocolate is there.
There is a little bit of a citrus, like almost like a lime.
You also get initially you're just hit by, sweetness. But then I feel like in the aftertaste, it's not sweet, it's like tangy.
Yeah, so it's almost like a lime zest and then a sour cherry.
Which is like not fully what I expect to have. I don't always expect that like sour, but it's not bad. It's just, it almost makes it balanced.
It does balance it out very well.
It's so sweet. If that wasn't there, it would be almost too much.
I do think this would be a fantastic age-worthy wine because that higher acidity that you're getting out of it, I think this would be able to age for another 10 years. And at that 10-year mark, I think that acid is going to essentially be gone. And you're going to get a lot of these more earthy notes.
I feel like underneath it, there are these earthy notes, but they're not first
super
impression.
Present.
They're kind of just underneath it all.
So that's what we call secondary flavors. And I think if you let this age, you're going to get a lot of these tertiary flavors that are going to pop up. And it is going to just be bursting with these deep, dark, earthy notes. And it would be so nice. Part of me wishes we didn't open this and aged it, but also...
But like, you gotta know. But now we know.
Now we know.
Now we know. Now you know.
So if I didn't mention this, both these wines were a gift from one of our longest time subscribers and great family friend, Henry. Super appreciate you giving us this bottle. This was such an unexpected gift. We really appreciate it. And honestly,
top-notch pick.
Yeah, we love this. It is going to go down easier than it should.
I feel like, I know it's only September, but the fall girl in me, I feel like a port is just that like nice little after dinner dessert that's just perfect. The instant it's like fall or winter.
I definitely agree.
Now, will I have a rosé later this month? Absolutely, because it's still also summer. We're in that in between.
all in all, fantastic
we didn't
wine.
mention there's a baking spice. Sorry.
You got baking spice out of
Or
it?
not fully baking spice. There's like it would lean towards a nutmeg. Really, like it's there on the nose.
I'll take your word for it. I didn't see it. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I think it's one of the earthy notes. I'm trying to name the earthiness. Okay, moving on. Anyways, thank you.
So I hope you guys do, like we said 2 weeks ago, put yourself in those new situations that are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. That's where you're going to get to learn things. You're going to get to try new things. You're going to get to see if you like it or if you don't like it. And again, you get to kind of challenge yourself to be your authentic self.
Actually, I had a new thought. They keep coming the instant we try to close. I can't stop myself. So, something I also started doing that I think helped with trying new things is I'm like, really, what's the worst case scenario? You know, and I think your brain can go all sorts of directions when you say worst case scenario, but like the most likely worst case scenario is like, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like it, and I never do it again. And that's totally fine to never do it again if I didn't like it.
Which is what you talked about 2 weeks ago with doing ice skating.
Yeah. So again, just go in there, be yourself. And if you authentically hate it because you're your authentic self, that's authentically okay.
And that is what it is. But until next time, I will see you guys on Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.